suspected, evaluate in detail, unexplained thing, keeping them on follow-up, and if the risk is higher, reappraisal and treatment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful presentation. Now, if there is any question, we'd be happy to take.
Patch on the body with where we can get the information through internet or a central monitoring system. I mean, is it available in our country nowadays, sir? And how costly is it?
No, it is available very close to you. In fact, the person is there. He can show you the patch also. It's available in our country.
Okay.
It's not that expensive for a person. Now Holter, I think people are charging around 2,000 rupees. For 1 week recording, they charge around 8,000 rupees. Something.
The question is, sir, for example, if a patient is in a peripheral village, is it possible to monitor the...
wherever mobile phone reaches.
Okay.
This monitor can be done.
Okay, just for information. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I have a question for you. If we, like, one category is there that vague lightheadedness is there. So in this kind of patient, we see like, okay, it is not, doesn't fit in the peripheral vertigo. Examination is normal. Audiogram is normal, and neurological examination is normal. Then in that case, when to do imaging, and in imaging, which one you want, like preferable, to do CT or MRI with contrast, without contrast?
That's a good question. See, the symptom of vague lightheadedness alone doesn't warrant very detailed investigation. Especially the investigations that you mentioned, like CT and MRI, they are required when the symptom is definitely accompanied by neurological signs. Like, for example, along with that, you find some evidence of raised intracranial pressure or some other neurological sign like extensor plantar or something which indicates that there is definitely a central phenomenon. Then you would need imaging. That is the first step. Only after that will you decide whether you are going to do contrast or whether you are going to do CT. Most of the times, these kind of symptoms, like I said, vary from time to time in the same patient. So the important thing to find out is whether there are other psychological factors or whether there are any somatoform or somatization kind of disorders or anxiety disorders in these patients which can bring on similar symptoms. Very often you may not find anything at the first examination, the first sitting. So you will have to observe these patients over a period of time and then follow them up and then decide what is to be done. In many of these cases, you may not be able to decide at the first sitting itself.
If a patient is having episodic vertigo and the positional test is negative, and one of differential then comes is the VBI, vertebrobasilar insufficiency. A patient doesn't have an nystagmus, positional test is negative, and the giddiness is still there. If we, in that case, went to do imaging, because a few patients like in imaging we see, okay, lacunar infarct is there. Imaging is required, or can we do only 4 vessel color Doppler, or how to go about this patient?
Yeah, again the answer involves the same points. That is, you need a good history. You said vertebrobasilar insufficiency. So in vertebrobasilar insufficiency, you should also always look for symptoms other than just vertigo. Recurrent monosymptomatic vertigo, that is strictly vertigo alone. However many times you inquire, the patient says he only had this and nothing else, then it is very unlikely that you are dealing with a vertebrobasilar insufficiency. And the other point is, finding lacunar infarcts on an imaging doesn't automatically mean that that is the reason for the patient's symptom. It has to be appropriately placed. It has to be in the right position for you to be able to say that that is likely to be connected with the symptoms. So again, it virtually revolves around a good history and a clinical examination. I agree that at TIA the symptoms may have resolved, the signs may have resolved, the patient may not be presenting to you at the point that he comes to you with hard neurological findings, but such patients you need to follow up regularly. If you have risk factors like diabetes, hypertension, or if you find a bruise in the neck, yes, you definitely need to follow them up with metabolic investigations and carotid Doppler or neck vessel Doppler and so forth. But again, these depend on your clinical judgment, in the sense whether it is only vertigo or vertigo plus. Neurologically, it has to be vertigo plus. Only vertigo recurrent, very unlikely to be a central problem.
Any more questions? Yes. So thank you so much, doctors, for attending this wonderful program. Now I request my colleague Mr. Kadaresan to hand over a bouquet to Dr. Vasudevan, sir. I request my colleague Mr. Srikanth to hand over bouquet to Dr. Kripashankar. And I request my colleague Mr. Ramesh to hand over bouquet to Dr. Muralidharan, sir. On behalf of Abbott, we thank you for sparing your very valuable time and making it an interactive session. And we hope to bring more of such educational initiatives in the future also. So I'll just take to hand over to Dr. Sir.
No, we would like to place on record our thanks to Abbott for taking such educational initiatives, and I hope they continue to do this in the future. And we would like your feedback also on this kind of, usually you would see CMEs and other programs as a single lecture or a single specialty. So we thought it should be different in the sense that it should encompass a particular subject in entirety, so that the carry home message is more useful to everybody, so that you will be able to examine when a patient next comes to you with dizziness or giddiness or whatever it is, you will be able to look at them in the proper perspective. I hope it was useful to you, and I once again thank Abbott for this initiative.
From my side, it was very useful because this is the first time I realized that a person in a peripheral village can be monitored with a central monitor, because many people will be benefited, so that this message can be passed on to peripheral practitioners, and they also become aware of such a thing, that there is existing something like this, so that it can be used for the smaller and unaffordable people also. Thanks. Thank you for the information, sir.
So once again, we would like to thank Dr. Vasudevan, Dr. Kripashankar and Dr. Muralidharan, sir, just sparing their very valuable time and giving us an opportunity to have such a wonderful presentation on behalf of Abbott. Thank you very much, sir. The lunch is getting ready. Please spare 5 minutes for us. Thank you.